What's going on, Bengals fans? Chris Daughtry here with you guys for Bengals Breakdown. We are talking about the very anticlimactic trade deadline for the Cincinnati Bengals. The one move that they ended up making today was that Logan Wilson trade to the Dallas Cowboys for a 7th-round pick. So we're going to talk about it all here on today's show. What, we probably wanted, some rumors going into today's NFL trade deadline, and so much more here. But if you guys are mad that the Bengals did basically nothing at the trade deadline, get down there and show us by liking today's show. It seems like every single year it's the same thing, year after year after year. The Bengals just do nothing. So if you're mad that yet again the Bengals do nothing basically at the NFL trade deadline, drop a like on today's video. All right, like I said, the one and only trade that the Bengals ended up making today was sending Logan Wilson to the Dallas Cowboys for a 2026 7th-round pick, which really doesn't help you at all. I mean, it's a 7th-round pick at the end of the day. I think the only winner in this trade, the Cowboys are winners because they got a starting linebacker, something they desperately need. And, you get a 7th-round pick in return, really kind of wish you would have been able to get at least a 6th-round pick for him. But, look, I'm not really surprised that you only got a 7th-round pick for him at the end of the day. The linebacker room right now for the Bengals, it's a lot of young guys. Shaka Hayward right now is on injured reserve. You did call up Joe Giles-Harris from the practice squad. You got Oren Burks, who they play very, very sparingly right now. So the two guys that they're going with here are going to be Barrett Carter and Demetrius Knight. Zach Taylor said that they have confidence in these two guys that they're going to be able to develop them, throughout the season and hopefully in the future as well. But, so far, they racked up a lot of tackles so far this year, but a lot of those tackles, just like I've said before, they come downfield, after the other team's already picked up a first down. So, I really wish the Bengals would have done something to help their team in some type of way here at the trade deadline, but that's the only move they end up making. So are you surprised that the Bengals didn't make any more moves besides just that one? Let me know what you guys think down at the pinned comment of today's video. Type Y for yes or N for no. I'm not surprised at all that the Bengals did nothing at the trade deadline, but I am still irritated. It is their MO at the end of the day. You go back to that 2020 team, they were winless before the NFL trade deadline, and they didn't make any moves then either. You have 3 choices at the trade deadline. Number 1, you buy and you help your team out. Zach Taylor says that they trust these guys, but, the metaphor that I use for that, if, you trust your wife not to cheat on you and she still cheats on you multiple times and you know what's going on and you're still there, you don't divorce her, that just makes you a total moron. And that's what the Bengals are doing right now. They did absolutely nothing to help themselves. Number 2, you could sell, you could acquire some, draft picks to go get guys, maybe help out some of those problems. Maybe it's at that tackle spot. Maybe it's at the safety spot. Maybe it's at the defensive tackle spot. Maybe you can get another edge rusher at some point in the NFL draft. But you didn't do that either. And really, even if you did, does it really even help you, at the end of the day? Because the Bengals can't even draft well. It doesn't matter if it's, in the 6th round, or it doesn't matter if it's one of those premium picks either. At the end of the day, the Bengals are just going to let it ride, and, that's what they've chosen to do yet again. And it really doesn't take some kind of magic crystal ball, doesn't take, one of those magic 8 balls or anything like that for us to see that this Bengals defense right now is just not good enough to make the playoffs, much less make a run in the playoffs. And I think, shouldn't that be the goal every single season, right? Unless you're just totally dead, gone out of it, then you should be sellers to help yourself out in the future. We aren't here just to play games on Sunday. We want to win games at the end of the day. It seems like this Bengals front office really doesn't focus on winning football games. All right, we'll continue and break down some more what happened on the NFL trade deadline here in just a second, but this episode is brought to you by PrizePicks. Hard-hitting football action is even better with PrizePicks, and the weather might be changing right now, but the feeling of being right never gets old. So keep the season rolling on PrizePicks by getting $50 instantly in lineups when you play your first $5 The best thing about PrizePicks going on right now is they are the only app that offers stacks, meaning that you can pick the same player up to 3 times in the same lineup. You want more than on passing yards, rush yards, and touchdowns for, any kind of, quarterback out there. Now you can pick all of them in the same lineup only on PrizePicks. This is the power play that I am going with for the Thursday night slate of games, and you can also see stacks in there as well for Brock Bowers there, going with a more than on him receiving yards and going with a more than on him for receptions as well. And I think with the Jakobi Meyers trade, those receptions, those targets for Brock Bowers are just going to go up, up, up. Also going with the more than on Bo Nix passing yards. With PrizePicks, one of my favorite things is the fact that, how you play is up to you. If you want flexibility, choose the flex play where you get paid even if one of your picks misses. That's one that I definitely take advantage of a lot because, I might like, a couple of my picks, but then one of them I'm kind of, it's a coin flip on. I usually go with the flex play on that. But if you want the biggest payouts, go with the power play. No matter your play, PrizePicks is a great way to put your takes to the test. So download the PrizePicks app today and use promo code CLNS to get $50 in lineups after you play your first $5 lineup. That's promo code CLNS to get $50 in lineups after you play your first $5 lineup. That link's down in the comment section and the description of today's video. PrizePicks, it's good to be right. All right, so early this morning, right after the Logan Wilson trade, you saw Slick Rick, Pretty Ricky, the People's Insider, Ricky Scoops here, talking about a possible Trey Hendrickson trade and ended up not going down. It says, sounds like the Colts are calling teams trying to land a cornerback before today's 4 p.m. trade deadline. The Colts are also called the Bengals regarding Trey Hendrickson and being a team to watch if he is moved today. Well, they were 50% on that, was Ricky Scoops there. The Colts did end up making a pretty big-time trade here. One of the 2 biggest trades of the day, both, by the way, coming from the New York Jets. The Colts getting Sauce Gardner in a trade today for a 2026 and a 2027 first-round picks, plus the Jets also getting Adonai Mitchell in that trade as well. And like I said, that's not the only trade that ended up happening there. The Cowboys, we also talked about them possibly, being in this, trade situation. They obviously went out and they got Logan Wilson, but, we were wondering too, they also do need some edge rush help. Or are they going to go out and get Trey Hendrickson? And they end up going with the defensive tackle there in Quinnen Williams. They ended up giving up Mazi Smith plus a couple of they gave up a 2026 second-round pick and also a 2027 first-round pick. And the Cowboys had two, I guess you could say, 2027 first-round picks, and they end up, making a deal there where the Jets end up getting the higher of those 2 picks there. So thought the Cowboys or the Colts might be in the mix there for Trey Hendrickson, but it does seem like the report the other day from Diana Rossini was dead on, saying that the Bengals are steadfast on it being a first-round pick for Trey Hendrickson, and it seems like nobody wanted to budge on that first-round pick offer for Trey Hendrickson, which is a little bit surprising. I thought, when a couple of these other trades, went down in the past couple of days here, that, deadlines make deals type of mentality would maybe take over and somebody would be able to part with a first-round pick, maybe even a second-round pick, and a player, that could help this Bengals team out as well. We kicked around the idea during our live show of possibly, doing a deal with the Cowboys, them sending a second-round pick, and cornerback to us as well. And, obviously that didn't go down either. But Bengals are steadfast on not trading Trey Hendrickson, and it did not go down today. So are you glad that the Bengals did not trade Trey Hendrickson? Going back to our live show, it was kind of 50-50 for the majority of the time. Some people were saying trade him. Some people were saying don't trade him. The Bengals end up not trading him. So I want to hear from you guys. Are you glad that the Bengals did not trade Trey Hendrickson? Let me know what you guys think. Type 1 for yes or type 2 for no. All right, so let's talk about what the Bengals did do before we get out of here today. The 2 trades that they ended up making in the past, month or so here. Joe Flacco, obviously, doing that 5th, 6th round pick swap for him. When it happened, I was like, I don't know if Joe Flacco is really going to be able to help you. Boy, was I wrong on that. Really, the offense, everywhere from the passing game to the run game, he's getting the ball out fast. He's not really, outside of this past weekend, not really turning the ball over, something that Jake Browning wasn't able to do for you. That trade has definitely paid off. But the fact that, you didn't go out and help your defense at all, that just, it's blasphemous. It's absolutely blasphemous that the Bengals saw what they saw the past 2 weeks, giving up over 500 yards. You score 38 points. You score 42 points. You score 80 points in 2 weeks, and you can't get wins in either one of those games. And one of those games against the Jets, you give them their first win of the season. That's just absolutely abysmal there. And then the second one that went down earlier this morning, Logan Wilson going to the Dallas Cowboys for a 2026 7th-round pick. With that, by the way, Logan Wilson was on the active roster, so the Bengals do have to make a, designating or a correlating roster move for that trade. So, when and if that ends up, coming down the wire here, we will let you guys know. So make sure you guys are subscribed right here to Bengals Breakdown. I know you guys, myself as well, very frustrated about the lack of moves here for the Bengals, whether that was buying or selling. Just really nothing happened here today. So make sure you guys are subscribed. We're still going to be live for every single Bengals game this year, the good, the bad, the ugly, and who knows, maybe we'll even start doing some mock drafts here in the next couple of weeks. So do not miss out. Join the community here at Bengals Breakdown. It's youtube.com/BengalsTV.